Hello and welcome on in, everybody. Today I've got a guide for you guys. This is going to be a basic guide on how to get your character set up and ready for PvP by level 15. That's right. So at very early game, not only are you going to have a proper build for your character customized to the playstyle that you want, but on top of it, you should have the supplies that you need for PvP. And if you follow this guide, it should be easy for you to keep yourself geared out for PvP all the way until you hit max level. Now, New World has a battle leveling system in PvP. Basically, it helps even the playing field between a high level and a low level player by boosting the low level player to have stats more similar to that of the high level in a PvP encounter. Now, the higher level player is obviously going to have some more advantages, access to better gear, more passives, better weapon mastery, etc. But thanks to this battle leveling system, you can build yourself a low level character that is at least competitive with these other higher level players, and you're going to be able to jump into and enjoy PvP right at the beginning of the game without having to do an insanely long grind to get into it. And one of the best things about this guide is it lets you set up your new character in whatever build that you want. I, of course, am going to provide a link to a build if you guys want something to follow along, but don't feel like you have to copy the build that I'm using in this video. You have full freedom to play whatever weapons and whatever style that you want. You're just going to have to make sure that you buy the appropriate gear for the style that you want to play. And of course, if you want a written version of this guide, you can find it on my website, pvpnewworld.com, a link down below for you guys. All right, let's get right into it. So you're going to start by obviously creating a new character, selecting the server that you want your character to be on, and of course, designing your character. After a short cutscene, you're going to wash up on shore and start the tutorial. It's very easy and simple. It's going to walk you through step by step what you need to do, and basically just teach you the game's combat mechanics. Little spoiler alert, you're going to have to fight a boss right at the end of the tutorial. Don't worry, he's not too tough, and you should be able to take him down. After defeating the boss and another short cutscene, you'll find yourself starting on the actual game map now, able to see and interact with other players, and this is basically the very beginning of the game. At this point, you want to start the main quest line in front of you, and you want to make sure to complete this quest line as soon as possible. The series of quests that you get here are going to give you all of the basic beginning tools that you need, and teach you a few things about crafting and resource collection. You're also going to have to do a little bit of combat during these quests, and this is a great opportunity for you to start leveling your weapons of choice for the PvP build that you want to play. And if you don't know what you want to use, well, just have fun and use whatever weapons are appealing to you. After doing a few quests for this guy, he will eventually send you into a cave where you'll have to go and kill a few things, collect some stuff, and then kill a bit of a mini-boss. Once you've completed the quests in this cave and returned to the guy at the outpost, he's going to send you over to the first starting town that you'll have access to. Now, this is going to be a little bit different for everybody because, of course, we're starting in all kinds of different locations in the game, so your starting town is going to be the closest one to wherever you spawned after you landed on the shore. Now, from this point on, there are a few resources that you're definitely going to want to collect if you see. The first big one is going to be herbs and bulrushes. The materials you get from herbs and bulrushes can be used to make basic healing potions, and this is really important not only for your survivability while you're training up, but in PvP you're definitely going to want some healing potions too. Of course, you're going to have to collect fresh water in order to make these potions, but the water doesn't weigh a lot, and there are quite a few freshwater sources that you can find all over the map. If you're lucky, there might be one in the town that you started in. The next big thing you want to look out for is iron. Iron's important for a few reasons. Number one, if you want to get access to iron tools quicker, then collecting your own iron to make them is going to make that easier. You will, however, get your iron tools later on if you continue questing and decide not to make any. The second big thing that iron's important for is early game weapons. If you have the materials to make yourself a basic iron weapon of the weapon of choice, it is likely going to be a lot stronger than any other weapon you've found at this point in the game. Now, it might not seem like having a better weapon at this point is really important, but it greatly increases the speed that you kill things, so in the long run, it actually ends up saving you a lot of time if you get a better weapon earlier. The next resource you want to keep your eyes out for is life blooms. Life blooms are very important because they make regeneration potions. You can actually use potions and regeneration potions, and they have their own independent cooldown while you're in combat, so you can use both at the same time. The regen potions, however, can be very tricky to get a lot of if you're not actively collecting life blooms, so make sure to collect as many of these as possible. The materials you get from the life bloom will give you everything that you need minus the water to make those regen potions. And finally, the last big thing that you want to keep your eyes open for is just any food stuff that can be cooked into rations. Having rations for combat is really important, not only for the passive healing that it gives while you're in combat, but when you actively eat a ration, it greatly increases your regen until you're hit again. Even if you're in PvP combat, if you can break some distance from your opponent and then slam the ration back for a quick heal, it actually is a very effective method to stay alive. If you really don't want to cook your own food, you can always just collect honey and eat that instead. Once you get to the first town, continue along your main story quest line. You're going to continue doing these quests until you eventually get the quest that tells you to go and talk to each of the 3 faction representatives in the town. After talking to each of them, you will be asked to choose a faction. So make sure you pick the one that has all your friends on it. It's important that you pick a faction for the sake of this guide, otherwise you will not be able to use the vendor to get the gear that you need. But now that you've finally joined your faction, you can start to do faction mission quests. There are 2 types of faction mission quests. There are PvE versions, and then there are PvP versions. If you do the PvE quests, you won't amass faction tokens as fast, and you'll level up a little bit quicker. If you do the PvP version, you won't get as much XP towards leveling, but you'll amass your faction tokens a lot quicker. It's up to you which route you want to go here. For the sake of the guide, I would recommend doing the PvE stuff, because you do not have a full PvP build at all yet, so you won't be able to do a very good job defending yourself at this stage in the game from another player. The quests are pretty simple and not too complex. You're basically going to have to go out, kill some things, collect some stuff, and then come back and turn your quest in. Your goal here is to amass enough faction tokens that you can buy yourself a full set of the level 15 gear, and whatever sigils you might need to change the traits on your gear to the traits that you want for your build. Now you do have a limit on how many faction tokens you can hold, so make sure you're buying your pieces of gear as you go when you do this. Also, if you plan on changing the attributes on your gear, it will cost you a bit of Azoth on top of the sigils that you buy from your faction vendor. By the time you hit level 15, you should amass enough Azoth in order to change the traits on at least 3 of your pieces of gear. If you're worried that you won't have enough Azoth, however, you can just continue doing main story quest lines because they reward quite a lot of Azoth as you continue to do them. If you're not changing your attributes, you don't need to worry about Azoth at all. So this is basically all you're going to do until you finally get yourself a full set of level 15 gear with the weapons included and you have it traded the way you want it. Unless you've been doing a lot of other things, you likely aren't level 15 by this time and have 2 or 3 levels to go before you'll actually be able to equip the gear that you've just amassed. If you want to continue doing main story quest lines, you'll find yourself leveling up pretty quickly and hitting level 15 in no time. This is good because now you get to use your gear and you can PvP. However, if you do this route, your character won't be as strong as if you go out and grind your way to level 15. If you go out instead and find yourself some nice low-level mobs, preferably level 6 or 7, and you just kill them over and over and over, you will actually grind up your weapon mastery. And your weapon mastery is really important because it essentially adds more to your build for your character, and the earlier you can get a higher weapon mastery level, the more powerful you will become. Differences in weapon mastery levels is one of the biggest differences in PvP combat strength between a higher and lower level player. So if you go and grind mobs at this point until you hit level 15, you'll actually be able to get a decent amount of leveling done on your weapons, which will make you a lot more effective at level 15 than if you just level up quickly. It's really up to you guys what you want to do at this stage. Grinding the mobs takes a lot longer than doing the quests, and if you just want to jump into PvP right away, you actually get a lot of weapon experience for killing other players. So this last step is really just about how much more patient you want to be before you jump into PvP. Regardless of which route you take, you should now be level 15. You should have a full set of gear for your character as well as 2 weapons. You should have all of the potions and food that you need, and you should basically be ready to go for PvP. When I did a test run of this strategy, I did the longer method where you grinded mobs, and it took me about 5 hours to get my character fully ready for PvP. I know that still is quite a bit of time, but for an MMO, 5 hours to go from a fresh character to ready for PvP, I think is a pretty good time. I really hope this guide helps you guys out and helps you get into PvP as soon as possible in New World with the best build possible that you could. Of course, a written version of the guide is down in the description if you guys want to check that out. I do a series called the Top 5 PvP Battles for the Elder Scrolls Online, and I'm really hoping to do the same in New World. So if you guys want to have your clip featured on the channel, you can send it to KristoferESO@hotmail.com. You can also check out my New World site, pvpnewworld.com. It's got all kinds of guides on there, the weapon mastery breakdowns, and we've got written guides to the builds that I'm uploading for New World as well. Give me a follow on Twitter if you guys want to keep up to date with me, and follow me on Twitch if you guys want to catch that live gameplay. We are sponsored by What the Fast. They're a VPN for gamers, and they can help you get a better connection to your favorite games. Free to try, and a link down below in the description for you guys. And then last but not least, a massive thank you and shout out to all of my patrons on Patreon. You guys make this dream possible, so thank you so much for supporting the channel. Thank you everybody so much just for tuning in and watching. I hope that you all enjoyed, and as always, have a great night everyone. I'll see you next time.